Hi everyone and welcome to my new video. It's been a while. I have been requested to do a new video about my daily routine. As you may know, my daily routine changes over time, but basically it remains the same. So I will talk about it just before the coronavirus crisis and after the corona crisis. Before, actually, I used to do after my breakfast the hardest language, which is the newest language that I'm not so familiar with. I decided um, to learn Vietnamese. I wanted to learn it for a while, and I love to go to Vietnamese restaurants to try out different Vietnamese food. So I always found that it was a little bit frustrating when I could not understand the menu in Vietnamese and I cannot interact with them. Some of them do not speak the local language, some do. So I would like to do it in Vietnamese. So I began to learn Vietnamese about 6 months ago, although it has some similarities with other Eastern Asian languages that I know. It's quite difficult. It's quite different. I need more time to get used to it. So basically, what I would do and recommend you to do is to go for a basic textbook, like full of dialogues, not too much grammar based, just more dialogue oriented. I always go for ASML. It depends. For some languages, it's better. For other, it's worse. I really don't know. Maybe we can just I can make a review about Assimil le Vietnamien. It only exists in French. It does not exist in um, it does not exist in English, but you have Teach Yourself that you can also use. Actually, I will end this book within 6 months. I'm at the 89th lesson, and they have 92 lessons. It's the last one. It's pretty okay. The lessons are interesting, somewhat somehow unrelated. So my technique is actually, and this is one of the techniques you can apply to any language that is complex. Actually, any language is complex, even if it looks like your native language. You will have to break things down. Like if you have, let's say you are doing like me, trying to learn Vietnamese, and we have a new lesson every 2 or 3 days. Sometimes it seems impossible because this lesson has a lot of new words, lot of new concepts, grammatical features that we have never encountered before. So what I would advise you to do is not to rush, because people try to learn as much as they can in a small amount of time, but it's not our goal. Our goal is to enjoy the process and to get the most out of it. And if you go too fast, you will not be able to maintain your goals. My goal actually is to try to learn Vietnamese for about 2 years every day, for about half an hour a day. I've been doing this for the past 6 months, except when I was on holiday, sometimes in Romania and Turkey. So I took a break when I was abroad, but when I'm not traveling, I'm doing this. So what do I mean by breaking down? It's like you have a sentence, it seems very hard to understand. Break it down in small chunks and try to understand each words in its context. It's very important to understand the word in its context and not trying to understand it out of context from a dictionary. Like, try to understand the words. If it seems logical and understandable for you, move on to the next chunk and just try to break down the sentences. And then if you have, for instance, for those who are familiar with ASML, you know that they have typically 16 to 20 replies in one dialogue. You can, for instance, do the first 10 ones in one day and review them the next day, and then move to the other half on the third day. So you will have the impression that it is lighter and your brain can process the new information better, and you will not be discouraged because it seems easier this way. So I highly recommend you not to rush. Take your time and enjoy the process and go as slow as possible, but make it enjoyable. If you try to make a lesson a day, okay, maybe you will be done after 92 days with Le Vietnamien sans peine. But after 92 days, you will not want to keep learning Vietnamese, and it will be a failure, because in 3 months you cannot possibly learn everything that this book contains, except if you're living in Vietnam and you're trying to learn at the same time and practicing every day, which is very different from what my actual case. So what should I say more? So for Vietnamese, my daily routine was to study half an hour, break things down, revise, take some time to, sometimes I do new lessons, and whenever I finish a lesson, I will review 2-3 previous lessons, and then review this lesson that is brand new. And then you have to vary between novelty and repetition, as Steve Kaufman used to say. Why do you need novelty? Because otherwise it gets boring. And why do you need repetition? Because if you don't do it, it gets passive and you forget those words. You can still recognize them. Like, there are words that I have been learning in the 20th lesson. I forgot them and they came back in the 70th, for instance, lesson, and I understood them, but I cannot use them. So this is my routine for Vietnamese. Actually, I will keep on learning through this material. Then I'll move on to Teach Yourself Vietnamese, or also other resources that were written or intended to Chinese speakers. They have a lot of it. And now for Romanian, I've been doing more like 8 months of Romanian. Why Romanian? Because it's the only Romance language that is not understandable by the other people in the group, like the French, the Spaniards, the Italians. No one would understand Romanian, which makes it very attractive for me. It's kind of a blend of Romance language with a lot of Bulgarian words that I recognize inside. They may say that it's not Bulgarian, it's Slavic, okay, but for me it's mainly like in Romanian I find a lot of Bulgarian words. So what I have bought this book, Românski Jezik, Limba Română. As you can see, it's written Samo Ucitel v dialozi. It means teach yourself through dialogues. It's a book intended for Bulgarians who want to learn the language of their neighbors. I've bought it in when I was in Burgas. It's really good. It is full of dialogues, a little bit grammatical notes after each unit. I have been doing the same as for Vietnamese during 4 months, and then I had also used this one. Why do I do this? I really recommend you to use several beginner books just to make sure that those basic vocabs sink in. When they sink in, you don't really know when those words will sink in, but if you use various material, you will see that in those various material intended for beginners, they will provide you with the same words again and again, like supermarket stuff, taxi stuff, etc., etc. Assimile Le Roumain is great, but not so entertaining anymore. We spoke about repetition, but we also spoke about novelty. When I was in Romania, I bought some authentic stuff for intended for Romanian people, which from I have this one, for instance. It's called Lumea. It means people. It's mainly politic. I'm not too much into politic stuff, but it's still interesting. And when I get bored from political stuff, I can get back to Asimil, which is lighter. So as Romanian is not so difficult like Vietnamese, I can juggle. In Vietnamese, I could not read the political stuff right now. We have to be realistic. This is one of the key points I would like to highlight, is that we have to choose materials that are not too difficult, but just enough to challenge a little bit, or knowledge or capabilities. If we can choose something like a text that has like I would say per paragraph 2 to 5 words that we don't understand. If you have to look every other word in the dictionary, it's not so useful. So that's my routine for both languages that I'm actively learning, and as they are totally unrelated, no problem of confusing them. If you want to share your daily routine, you can also make a video, or you can reply here in the comment box. If you have more questions, I'll be happy to try to make a new video to address those topics. Thank you. Bye bye.